Guys, thank you for tuning in. I am now Christian Killuminati. This is my second talk show. I'm on the air with. Go introduce yourself.
What's up, guys? This is Nero. Uh, I've been in the talks before as Mr. Guy Fawkes, if you didn't know, and me and Adon here, we've been chatting up a little bit. And decided to put together a new show for you guys. So you want to let them know what we're going to be talking about tonight?
Tonight we're going to be talking about the September 11 attacks and the conspiracy surrounding them, and our beliefs on how they were perpetrated and how they were deliberately carried out in such a fashion that it had appeared as if they were carried out by a terrorist organization. How do you want to start off this? So, my belief here is that what we believe about 9/11 is completely wrong because although the story, as convincing as it sounds, it comes from mainstream sources. And if you've been on Instagram, the truth movement quote community, you'd know that sources like CNN, Fox News, etc., Bloomberg, whatever, all those sources are unreliable. They're all mainstream. If it comes from mainstream, my rule of thumb is if it comes from mainstream, it's unreliable. Um, so I don't believe that Al Qaeda carried out 9/11 for a number of reasons. I was doing a little bit of research today, and I'll go into that later. But what do you have to say? How do you have to open up this?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not really too worried about what I tell people here, but right now I'm a sophomore in high school,
Same,
and
same.
I'm not, sorry about that. So right now I'm not really worried about what people know per
What
se.
people think.
Yeah, but I'm currently a sophomore in high school, and last year we were given an assignment that had to do with any big world event, and me being the typical
Conspiracy-minded kind of guy.
yeah, yeah, that guy. I chose to do my project on September 11th and the conspiracies surrounding the attacks. Now I'm reading this from the title of my actual research paper.
And by the way, I have his report pulled up on my screen right now, and I am reading it as we are talking.
Yeah, and if you guys ever want to see it, you can get find us. You know, I can.
I'll put the report up for public viewing.
Oh, okay, cool. Then yeah, do that. That'd be way easier.
All right, yeah.
Yeah, but I honestly, sure there could be some parts of this story that are true, like the buildings were destroyed, and that's about it. But I mean, if you look at it, just watching how the towers fell, that's near free fall speed, almost to the point of a controlled demolition.
So, okay, so we've stated the fact that we think that 9/11 was based off controlled demolitions. Let's elaborate on that. So, what mainstream covered was the falling of buildings World Trade Center 1 and World Trade Center 2. What they didn't really cover was the falling of World Trade Center 7, which I'm going to elaborate here on a second. But the official story is that planes flew into the buildings and later brought them down. If you mentioned the free fall time and explosives being inside the buildings, if all you have to do is go on YouTube for this, and there are news reports from ABC News, from Fox News, etc., ABC 7. There are news reports of firemen, and they were explaining how as they were climbing up the stairs and being taken up to the elevators, that you could hear boom, 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 boom on the different floors, and they described it as if it sounded like a bomb was going off on all the buildings, and they said they couldn't believe what they were hearing, but they didn't know if they were just hearing debris falling or etc. But if you watch the video, all you have to do is go on any video. I mean, you watch it on the news, but you see a video of as the building's falling, you see explosions from halfway down the building, a quarter of the way down the building. Just tiny little explosions, but enough to weaken the infrastructure. Because if the infrastructure is destroyed in one spot and it's already weak on that side or that portion of the building, and the building's coming down and the building was hit point of impact at the top, well then yeah, that's going to support the fall, which is going to support more of a free fall time rate.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, and if you get your hands on my paper, guys, and as you already know, and on that reading it, you can look at my seventh reference in there that I talk about Tom
Mm-hmm.
Sullivan. He's a demolition expert. He talks about how a building is destroyed in a controlled explosion, and now you first you have to weaken the structure of the building,
Which
and what
was
you
the bombs in the video I just
yeah
mentioned.
yeah, and to weaken it, you'd have to cut out stairwells. You'd have to cut and uh, do stuff inside the elevator shafts because that is your main focuses in the building, and then support beams, which would be
The big
typically
steel
corners.
rods.
Yeah, typically it'd be around the corners and near the middle of each section.
Exactly, because that's where all the point of support is going to be, and if you're going to want to hit a point of impact, that's where it's going to be. Because if those support beams fail, well, then the whole building's screwed.
Right.
And those support beams are designed to last, but if you put C4 on them, well, I mean that's a different story.
Yeah, this video I'm referencing here is if people are impatient and want to look it up. It's called 9/11: What Really Happened. See with your own eyes. They also have Richard Gage, who is a member of the American Institute of Architects, talk about how 10 months prior to the attacks, the elevator shafts were being renovated. Now, eyewitnesses, report that they remember the elevators being locked and there were guards sitting outside of them. Now, the guards were from Securicom, which is now known as Stratosec, which was owned by Marvin Bush. And now, if you don't know, Marvin Bush was the younger brother of
President
President
Bush.
Bush.
Keep going.
And now if you think about it, why would the president's little brother be in charge of something like that? I mean, yeah, he owns a security company. That's a given.
That's the last person I trust for
But
put my security in the hands of.
yeah, seriously. I mean, I have a little brother, and oh Lord, I would not trust him with
I mean,
that.
considering this guy put his own brother in charge of the security when the whole idea of 9/11 is against himself, he's the one that created the act that basically made it possible legally for the government to violate its own rules of the Constitution.
Yep,
That's
and that
that's a
is
big red
Patriot
flag right
Act.
there. That's a huge red flag. But the next point I wanted to make is World Trade Center 7. If my dad's big on this story, he believes the official story, and his explanation for the falling, if you will, of the falling of World Trade Center 7 is that since the buildings are in such a close area, in the same area, in the same block, the I guess he said the booms, the shock, the explosions, the shaking, etc., from falling of the 1 and 2 buildings created a fire in World Trade Center 7, um, created high energy blasts through the pipes, started fires, whatever. But if let me ask you this: if that energy from the falling of the buildings and the impact of the planes is enough to bring down a whole building itself without a plane crashing into it, well, why are the windows next to the point of impact on the Pentagon still intact
Exactly.
after a plane crashed into it? And why are those windows still intact when the plane is nowhere to be found?
Yeah, and that's one of the big controversies with the Pentagon. Now, sure, you can. I mean, let's say there were planes that fly into the towers, right? But they could be rigged with explosives. I mean, I'm not saying this is all hypothetical. I'm not saying this is what I personally believe. But say the building is rigged with explosives, like it could have been
Mm-hmm.
for a demolition.
Yeah, yeah.
You have explosives on a plane to make that disappear somewhat. But then you have people that say they saw something fly into it.
Well, let me add to that because my dad was in the military for 22 years, and
Right.
he knew a man in the Pentagon the day the plane supposedly hit. And whenever I bring up this topic, he gets all pissed off at me and says, "I knew the man inside the Pentagon, and he saw the plane as he was in the building fly through the wall
Right.
and
And
explode in there." I
see, and
don't.
that's what I find weird because if you listen to people talk, they can tell you, yeah, it skidded across the lawn and launched itself into the
Yeah,
wall.
about that.
But
If the let's be real, if the plane bounced off the lawn would look a mess.
right,
The lawn was
and
spotless.
yeah,
There's just
and
a
you
few
can see
pieces
that
of
in
hand metal.
videos. Let's see. I know I referenced a video that shows that lawn. Oh well, we can find that part later.
And the thing is, the footage that the FBI released of the plane supposedly hitting the Pentagon, people say, "Oh well, there's nothing in the air. There's obviously no plane." Like, okay, there's no plane that hit the Pentagon. But the night my dad was all pissed off at me and showed me the video that the FBI released, it was on YouTube.
Right.
If you do watch the lower right corner of the screen, you see this silver line just flying, and boom, there's a big silvery explosion. But I'm convinced that that silvery line was not a plane, because if it were a plane, it would have been freaking huge. It looked like a Sharpie streak. It looked like somebody took a Sharpie and wrote across the bottom of the screen. It was tiny. If it were a Boeing 747, it would have covered the whole screen. It would have been huge. But it's just
Well,
this tiny little silver lining, and boom, all of a sudden there's a tiny little silvery explosion. But the thing is witnesses on, well, not when, what do you call the person? On the Loose Change documentary, it mentions how people around the area reported 2 miles away, reported that they felt the ground shake, and they felt a huge boom in the same direction that the plane or missile impacted the Pentagon. So that
right,
means
and
that force shook the ground 2 miles away. I don't think a plane's gonna do that.
no, and that's where a lot of the missile theories come in because I found the reference by the way while you were talking, and it's my fifth reference, and it's a CNN broadcast that aired only one time, and now during the week, I guess afterwards, of September 11th to about the 18th, let's say, everything was aired multiple times except this one broadcast.
Mm-hmm.
And now I don't know for positive the name of this reporter, but he said that he was at the crash site at the time, and he said the plane actually fell short and had skidded across the lawn. But he also said that all the pieces of the plane were small and able to fit in your
Pick up by
hand.
hand, exactly. Now, if in all the controlled plane crashes, I mean, you have to, like, CNN's done reports on this before of controlled plane crashes for safety reasons.
Right.
It's just like Boeing intentionally, deliberately crashing a plane with a bunch of dummies inside and recording how
Well,
intact those dummies are. Yeah, exactly.
isn't that what they claim to do? Crash a plane full of dummies again?
Well, okay, so you get the point though. But
That was a bad joke. I shouldn't
but
have
these people, if the plane is still there after the crash, you still have the cockpit, you still have the tail section, you have the wings. It's just a mess, but it's still there. Now, like, can you explain to me why there's no plane to be found on the Pentagon? Like, did it just magically disappear? Like, is there a wormhole somewhere at the Pentagon? You
Right.
know?
And now, as cool as that would be, because I mean, who wouldn't want to travel around a little bit like that? But
What really happened to MH17?
right. Yeah, but no, like I don't remember how long before. Like this was a long time ago that I did all this research. I mean, I researched for weeks leading up to this, but uh, somebody had told me, "Hey, check this out," and it was that I think a few weeks, maybe a month or two prior to the strike at the Pentagon, they were conducting a small, let's say, drill. I guess.
NORAD was conducting tests.
Yeah.
Conducting tests specifically as to what would happen if a Boeing 747 hit the Pentagon, as if they were
Right.
preparing for it.
Right, and they had their little battle map, which was 3D figures, and they show
Mm-hmm.
everything flying in and what they would do if it
Yep.
breaks through the inner wall. But if you look at it, it doesn't make it halfway through the walls in the first place.
And then how many walls back is there a huge hole in the Pentagon in the wall? where apparently
multiple.
A
And
plane doesn't fly through that many
yeah, no, I mean you can
layers
also
of
look.
wall. It just
No,
doesn't.
there's videos out there. I know some of them are 747, some of them are a little smaller, but it kind of gives the idea. So I mean, I've seen videos. There's planes that fly down, they hit the ground, they skid a little bit, then they would run into a light post and hit with a wing or bump off
Exactly.
the nose, and they
Exactly.
would
If the plane hits the light post at all, it's totally
it's
thrown off.
shredded because
Exactly.
it's
And
aluminum.
and and this just goes to support the theory even more because if you go on YouTube right now, if on CNN's website, the footage of the plane hitting the Pentagon, the one I was talking about before, the plane was so low, it looked like it was maybe 10 feet off the ground, to be honest. And that's not to scale because it's the video taken from a security camera. Apparently, the only security camera the FBI, the Pentagon had active that day, right?
Well,
But
this is also way before, well, not way before, but this is before our Patriot Act, which
yeah, the Patriot Act was conducted and created after 9/11. But if you watch this
way
video,
more cameras after that.
what they call is the plane flies in so low, it would have had to have clipped all the light posts around the Pentagon. Yet it flies in that low, and after the impact, after the crash, all the light posts are still there. What's up with that? And that just goes to support the missile theory. All the missile has to do is just fly right through there, or hit it from above. You know?
Yeah. Now, like I'm curious about your CNN video, seeing if this is the one I've seen before. So I'm looking around on there. They're terribly.
I'm opening up a new YouTube tab right now.
Oh, all right. Yeah, this is just a terribly done website. I'm done here.
I'm logging into YouTube from my school Google account, and they'd probably get me in trouble if they saw me looking up this kind of stuff from school. But I don't care. YouTube.
Yeah. Yeah, when you get in trouble for hacking at your school, I think then you can worry about bad stuff.
Just go on YouTube and type "plane impacts Pentagon," and it's the second video, second, third. I'm watching it right now. Kind of impact.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what you got pulled up.
Just this. Oh, it's so small. It looks like it's 15 feet off the ground. And then there's this tiny little fiery explosion. If the plane hit the Pentagon, the explosion would have been much bigger, very comparable to the explosions in World Trade Center 1 and 2. Yet this explosion is just a tiny little silvery. It looks like a firecracker compared to the explosions in 1 and 2. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, now something I thought we should bring up again that you referenced earlier was the terrorist organization that was claimed to have done the attacks.
Let's be honest. Do you really believe a bunch of men in caves hijacked planes in America and flew them into the World Trade Center?
No, and I mean,
let's be honest. Let's put that into perspective. Do you really believe that?
Yeah, and I mean, Al Qaeda or Al Qaeda, however you want to say it, but Al Qaeda was funded by America in the 80s to help.
Bin Laden was an agent. Bin Laden was a CIA agent in 1980.
He was trained by us.
And then Bill Cooper, author of Behold a Pale Horse, he wrote in his book and quote, he said, Bin Laden was recruited and trained by the CIA. They will conduct a catastrophic event and point fingers at him, and everybody's gonna believe it. And that was like, it was some amount of time prior to 9/11, and everything happened as he told us it would. And they did blame Bin Laden, and boom, Bill Cooper's assassinated.
Now, I think that's easy to lay blame on anybody, depending on where it is. Like, I mean, if some, like Africa, right now with the Ebola, you can blame blacks for their uncleanliness, which
but they
honestly, that is a terrible.
They don't have much to work with though, because they don't have doctors like us. They don't have medical supplies like us. So
and that's what annoys me, because you see you see people like over there. And now I know we're talking about 9/11, but I figured bring this up a little bit.
All right, yeah, keep going.
Yeah, so like seeing like everybody's flipping out when we brought our two doctors back from Africa when they contracted the Ebola virus, but not days, well, maybe days, weeks afterwards, we found a way to fix it somewhat.
Somewhat.
And everybody's like, oh, well, this must be the government because they have been in this and just didn't want to give it to them. Well, I mean, sure, that could be true, but then again, I mean, think about it. West Africa, it's not a very developed region.
No.
Comparatively speaking.
My thing is, if we can haul our sorry butts over there to give all these African people, these poor African, I feel so bad for them. If we can haul our butts over there to give them all these vaccines that cost probably hundreds upon millions of dollars.
Oh, for sure.
Why aren't we supplying them with the proper medical tools to prevent Ebola?
Right, and now that, that's kind of a touchy subject just because of our foreign aid policies and who we have in office right now and where his priorities are. And I don't want to get off onto that because that will literally take us hours and hours to go over. And right now, over here for me, it's 12:31 in the morning.
Same.
But yeah.
But
So
that just irks me because a week before Ebola arrived in the United States government purchased hazmat suits, and they purchased so many it cost them $192 million.
right.
What are you doing spending $192 million before you even know Ebola is going to be in the U.S. to begin with? Quote, no. As
Yeah,
if
exactly.
they had no idea it was coming.
And now, like, my dad, he's a very libertarian-minded individual himself.
Props.
And that comes down to me, obviously, with what we're talking about. I mean, there's some parts that he believes just because of how he was raised and what he does right now, which I can't really go into that for certain reasons. But anyway, he was telling me about like when everything went down with Fukushima and their radiation, how we had purchased every don't know what kind of suit it was, but they were like crap. I'm gonna say wetsuits, but I'm pretty sure I'm wrong there. But purchased every single one of them that had been produced in stores, online places were out because it helped protect against the radiation or whatever.
What were the name of those pills? I remember seeing it on Infowars.
Potassium iodine, I think.
Yes. POTA says IODIDE. Yeah, Fukushima. Because the government spent how much on purchasing potassium iodide?
Oh, lots.
And there was only enough for government agents. I mean, let's be real here. And I was watching a video, Infowars, Alex Jones.
Honestly, I haven't been on Infowars in some time.
You know who he is, though, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I was on his website around the time of the Fukushima happening, and he had posted a video of one of his news anchors, and this news anchor, while on camera, while live, called I think it was it was the head of government transport, whatever the official name for that is, I don't know. But he called him, and he said, and he mentioned the Fukushima thing, and immediately the guy sounded like you're talking about something you're not supposed to be talking about. He had that tone in his voice.
Right.
And then so the news anchor asked, he said, "So why'd you guys purchase this many potassium iodide pills?" And the guy said, "Have a good day," and hung up.
Yeah, and you'll see
Talk
that
about
with,
censorship, right?
yeah, you'll see that with a lot of interviews like that.
It's irritating. Very irritating.
Wow, thank you for sending me to Infowars and the first time in a while, because now I'm gonna start reading a whole bunch of stories that I really didn't need to know.
Yeah, Infowars is quite It provides you with quite a lot of information.
Yeah, I'm gonna save that for later.
Yeah. Getting back to our original topic, though, 9/11. Now, the, one of the things I wanted to mention, one of the things I was thinking about before we started our interview, was if you go on the internet, if you open up a new tab right now on Google tab, search Bin Laden dead 2001, DNDAD 201, enter. First thing that comes up, report, Bin Laden already dead, Fox News.
Right, and that was
Published December 26, 2001. Osama bin Laden has died a peaceful death due to an untreated lung complication. You're telling me Fox News is telling me bin Laden died 13 years ago? As opposed to 2 years ago?
right, and that's where you'll see in my paper, as I'm pretty sure you've already read through by now, but Piazetic, I'm not sure how to say his last name, but was a doctor and stated bin Laden died in 2001.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
Even though this cause of death has not been confirmed, and I mean, why would you confirm a death of somebody who you're going to blame for an attack? But
at that point, you might as well just say our soldiers got to him.
Right, yeah, and I mean, it was speculated as a Marfan syndrome, which is the muscular, like a muscular atrophy where your body slowly deteriorates, and like signs of it are you lose weight rapidly. Your fingers get, your limbs get thinner. Fingers get long and spindly. Now, when I say long, I mean the meat and muscle and everything around here.
Elongates.
It shrinks. Well, the skin and stuff shrinks. Your bones stay the same, but it gives the effect of growth because everything around it shrinks. It gives the effect of elongate. Yeah. And I mean, if you watch some videos with him in there, you can see that happening.
And yeah, he definitely looks very, very frail.
And I mean, how hard would it have been to take some videos in, let's say, 99? Take some videos in 1999, hold on to them, plan it out, and then air them in waves.
If that really is your true goal, it wouldn't have been that difficult considering they planned 9/11 out from beginning with Operation Northwoods. Now, you mentioned bin Laden looking so frail. That brings me to another topic I wanted to discuss. If you look at who this bin Laden figure throughout his videos he has supplied the United States government with, every time it's a different guy. Have you ever noticed that?
Yeah, it does. It does kind of raise a couple red flags. Like, I mean, I can understand you can shave, you can wear
just the facial structure is so different, though. It's very obviously not the same guy, and that does go to support the theory that he did die in 2001.
Yeah. Now, one of the things that I found funny was with the Marfan syndrome is that Dr. Richard Devereaux, who he also claimed that bin Laden had this disease at the time. Now, he was later asked in 2011 about the death of bin Laden, and this was after people started investigating a little more, asking more questions.
Yeah.
A spokesperson said that the doctor didn't want to talk about him anymore, which that's going to raise a couple flags for you, being one, why doesn't he want to talk? I mean, if you're so expertise on this subject, what's there to not talk about? And then again, it also makes you wonder, is somebody making him be quiet, or is
hush money?
Yeah, what is going on here? Is he being threatened? Is he being paid off? And now, personally, I don't care what the means are of making it stay quiet. I just want to know what really happened.
No, and exactly, and that's what we're all striving for, and finding out what happened in the whole 9/11 event at all. And I mentioned Operation Northwoods a couple minutes ago. For those of you know what Operation Northwoods is, right?
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know what it is, it was an operation launched by the United States government in 1950, and it was when we were in the time of war with Cuba. And basically, what it was, and this is in the national, if I remember correctly, it's in the National Archives. It was some official operation, but it was launched by the United States government, And the whole purpose of it was for the United States government to carry out acts of terrorism on its own people and point fingers at somebody else, which in result would lead to the American people looking to their government for trust and safety, saying, excuse me, saying, what can we do to help you help us? You see, it's a way of creating slaves, basically.
Yeah, ask not what you can do for your country, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country.
JFK. And if there are a bunch of acts of terrorism that have followed Operation Northwoods, but 9/11 is just the perfect example of them carrying out Operation Northwoods. So yeah, but this is ridiculous. This is how much they get away with. And if going back to the whole building World Trade Center 7 thing, if World Trade Center 7 was located, if I remember correctly, behind World Trade Center 6, why? Correct. If any building should have fallen, it should have been 6, correct?
Yeah, that would make sense.
Because I mean, like if the boom, the explosions, the shaking would have been closer to 6. the AC pipes, all that stuff that would have caused explosions are all closer to 6 than 7. And notice how World Trade Center 7 fell into a nice convenient little pile. That doesn't happen from a fire. It just doesn't.
No, and I'm not gonna go hardcore looking through my paper and through the interwebs, but I mean, think about this. Jet fuel burns
at 1800 degrees.
Yeah, 1800. And that's a lot less to get than it takes to get a metal.
To deteriorate steel, the steel that was used to build the steel beams,
yeah,
you need 2100 degrees.
Right.
And you're 300 degrees off, guys. Sorry, but that's not what you believe is not correct. And I'm not trying to walk in here and be like, what you believe is wrong. You have the right to make your own judgment, but is making your own judgment based off obvious facts wrong?
Right, yeah. Now that's what I like to do, because I stick more to social engineering as opposed to sit behind my computer and just pound on the keys and be that kind of hacker. I like talking to people. I'm a people person. Like I just got done talking with one of my friends about how that's like my superpower. People are attracted to talking to me because I'm just so open, and I'm typically a nice guy unless, of course, you piss me off.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, I'm not really sure where I was going with that. I totally lost my train of thought, mainly because I am drawing a giraffe at the moment.
For those of you out there, if you're listening to this and this has struck you as an odd conversation, excuse me, my voice is all messed up at the moment, but if you are thinking of questions as to why this and this happened, ask your friends, ask your teachers, ask your history teachers. Mention all the stuff we just mentioned, and see what they have to say. You are going to get some crazy looks, but I mean, a bunch of men in caves don't fly planes in the American World Trade Center buildings. You know? It just doesn't happen like that.
Now, you've mentioned men in caves multiple times, and I always think about this, like, everybody knows what a black box is, or they should.
Yeah,
which saves logs, chat logs, everything from the
flight. Yeah, for those of you who don't know what a black box is, it's on it's by law, has to be on every aircraft that takes off from a runway. And what it like you said, it records engine speeds, engine temperatures, it records any dialogue between the captains, between the passengers. It records absolutely every statistical, everything about that plane. And it's created out of a material that falling from, what I think they said, 100,000 feet wouldn't damage it.
Yeah.
But it's very compact and it's very sturdy.
Near indestructible.
And not to mention, not one of the 4 black boxes were found that day, because 1 and 2 both fell, and they searched through the rubble of the buildings for those black boxes. Never once found them. Shanksville, that plane just disappeared.
Right.
That's a whole nother story. But that plane disappeared, no black box there. And the Pentagon, no black box there. These boxes are deliberately designed to be indestructible. And on the same day, none of them are found. I find that hard to believe.
Right. Now, I want to apologize now if I seem a little absent-minded or my train of thought is just not there, which is absent-minded, but whatever. I'm going to apologize now for that because I am very tired, but I agreed to do this interview talk, because one, this is a topic that is very interesting, and two, because I haven't done anything like this or been active in the community of either conspiracy theorism or even hacking in a long time. Yeah. And I figured I'd get back into it. Now, me being the total goof, I guess you could say that I am, I have legitimately started drawing a giraffe on my legal pad in front of me on the computer.
Keep it classy, folks.
Yeah. But no, that's me. I'm just that kind of person. But again, like with those black boxes, I mean, they weren't well, some parts or whatnot were, but think about this: how did a passport not burn? I mean, there was one recovered passport, I think.
Beautiful how you mentioned that. A passport, you find the passport, but you can't find the black box. That's a really good point.
That's like me when I try to fake homework. Oh no, I left it at my house or whatnot. Go back.
A bunch of men in caves came to my house and tore it up.
Yeah, you gotta go back, redo everything, make a whole new story to just make up why you shouldn't be giving it late. I mean, that's pretty much what you got going on here. You have one story up front, then you have a rush at the end to make a new story by our government because they want to either have found new facts or the story just changed in general.
Yeah, and one of the things that is, in my opinion, the most interesting about the whole 9/11 attacks, excuse me, I'm looking for some water, but how there was never any official investigation done on the attacks of September 11th. Like, you're gonna create a law that makes it legal to violate our constitutional rights, but you won't hold an investigation?
Right.
That's very unpresidential of you, Mr. Bush.
And now I can understand the Patriot Act. Like, in theory, it's a good concept, yes, but
the concept is morally correct, but
yeah,
the way you're carrying it out is not
executed.
Exactly. And Benjamin Franklin, the one of the founding fathers of our country, said those who would sacrifice privacy for security or security for privacy are fools and deserve neither.
Right.
And Edward Snowden is doing a really good job of displaying that.
Yeah, my favorite part about him right now is that after some stories released by our government to cover up what he says, he comes out with another one contradicting it even more.
Yeah, it's.
You know, if we have time, I don't know if you want to keep going with this a little bit.
I'll stay here all night if I'm just rolling with you because I got nothing better to do tomorrow.
Oh, well, that sounds like me then. But yeah, like, I mean, if you want to talk more technical stuff, I mean, I know we talked about it last time, somewhat touched on the subject.
If you haven't seen our last interview, go watch that. It's on the channel. It's just a couple videos back.
Yeah, and I mean, so with his stuff that he did, Snowden still, with everything that he does, it said he's used an operating system called Tails to communicate back and forth with reporters and access certain things. Now,
what was the name of this program?
Tails, Tails, just like Dogtail.
Alright.
And what it is it's a whole Linux-based operating system that is
similar to Kali then.
Somewhat. It's made to be very anonymous. It has Tor, different encryption things. It comes with persistence. Now, if you're not a Linux person, what persistence is it saves your data over multiple boots. So if I have a flash drive and I boot it onto my computer and I have Tails running, I can type up a paper and I can save it. And if I have persistence running at the time, it saves that into the actual memory. So I can go boot it back up, and if my settings aren't there, I still have my paper.
Yeah.
And that's what people have said he used. I haven't really researched it, but I mean, it's something for all you security-minded people out there. That Tails, it's made to be completely anonymous.
I googled it while you're talking about it. I'm looking at a page about it right now, and it looks pretty cool.
Yeah, no, like I'm a Linux person. I like it. It's just simple, bare bones. You can do whatever you want to it. Now, me personally, I like Debian or Debian, however you want to say it. I mess that up all the time. I'm a Debian guy, and now as much as I like Kali Linux, you can really go bare bones sometimes and put whatever tools you need at the time.
With just the regular Linux program?
Yeah, now Linux is really a building block for every operating system.
I've noticed that because I've never used Linux personally, but I mean,
Right.
I've watched a bunch of videos, I've done a bunch of research on it, and it looks very, just the concept of it is very similar to what I've used in Windows.
Yeah, now if you've used Apple, you're going to get more of a Linux style.
Yeah, my parents own a Mac computer.
Right. And now there's certain nuances on Macs that I hate, and there's certain for Windows that I hate that I love on Macs. But yeah, you can get that there. Kali Linux for all the aspiring little hackers out there that haven't taken the time to learn how to code anything.
Play it safe though. Play
Now,
it safe.
what was that?
I said play it safe though for all you aspiring
Yeah,
hackers in the
yeah.
making.
And now I can talk in a little bit about my horror story, I guess. But Kali Linux has a whole bunch of tools preset on there, like Metasploit, which is ways to make remote access tools, which are trojans or rats, and that gives you remote access to the computer you have planted it on. Now you can do that through email or whatever. You can send it as a message saying, "Hey, download this cool thing," and you can have it encrypted to not bring up any antivirus. And that's a whole other talk. Like we talked about in our last chat, we said we could go on to another whole episode on just hacker stuff.
Just hacking
in general.
stuff.
And what was I gonna say?
You're talking
Totally.
about encrypting.
Yeah, I totally lost that. Whatever. But yeah, so Kali Linux does that with crypting. You can
You can do anything you want with it, basically.
yeah, pretty much. I mean, like over the weekend, well, a couple weekends ago, I had set up stuff with MySQL, SQL. If you've heard about it, it's a way to set up websites and servers and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And there's literally tools in Kali called SQL Map, SQL MAP.
And
You
it'll
can literally
break
enter
in.
that into the terminal, and it opens it up and gives you lists of commands you can use. And you can use that. Like I pulled it up, and I'd set up a somewhat just basic website and everything that I was running on a home server.
Yeah.
And I could pull up root directory, I could pull up passwords, I could pull up users, emails, everything if I had set them in there. Obviously, and now
Yeah.
there's something called SET, or the Social Engineering Toolkit, which is used mainly for phishing, PHISING.
Mhm. For those of you who don't know what that is, it's just basically, quote, fishing around for passwords and personal information.
Right. Yeah, there's just a plethora of tools that you can use. And now, like me personally, I'm not a hacker application coder, I guess is what you can call those people.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, you see a lot of people, they'll be like, dude, I'm learning Python, or I'm learning C++ or C Sharp, or Ruby on Rails. And now me, I stick to web design. So I do HTML, PHP, CSS,
The basics.
JavaScript. Yeah, no, with all that, I mean, I could
You can
make,
do almost anything you want still.
yeah, I can make websites that give you pop-ups saying, hey, you should download this and whatnot. I can fool around there
Yeah,
and
you
give
can do
in,
whatever you want with that stuff. That stuff gives you like ultimate freedom on the internet.
yeah. And now, like, I can go in, and with what I know, I can look at certain things on, like, websites that I haven't even broke into at all. And I'm not saying I go in and actively break into websites, but, like, I could go in there and view certain things that they don't have hidden in just source code, and I can take advantage of that. And, uh, like if you go to a hackthisSite.org, it's like a training ground for
Yeah, it's a test site.
yeah, and on there they have really great different tasks you can do. Now these are all older, but it really gives you a feel of what you can do. And like they have basic missions which are just inside of the same window. Then they have realistic missions which send you out to fake servers they set up, different websites they make, and you gotta break in and change grades for kids and whatnot. This is all an imaginary thing,
It's all
but
emulated.
but it gives you that feel. And then, well, I mentioned it already, so I might as well go with it. My little horror story. So, let's see. So it all started in seventh grade, really. So in seventh grade, I get up to our junior high school because it's a 7, 8, 9,
Mm-hmm.
and I go there and I see this kid fooling around on the computer. I was like, "Hey, what are you doing, man?" And this is in my honors literature class. We pretty much had free reign to do whatever we wanted there, and he's all like, "Oh, I'm just messing around with batch files," and I was like, "Huh, that's weird." So I watched what he did for a little bit, and I kind of let it go. And in eighth grade, I saw the same kid doing more of it, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna learn that. So I learned batch files, VBS, INF, different file formats that you could use to take advantage.
Give like a basic summary, basic explanation of them.
Okay, like a batch file would be anything in your command prompt. So like, if you pulled up a notepad right now, like you can, for all the viewers and even you watching, if you open up Notepad right now, you type the @ symbol, then echo and off. So that's the first thing that typically you'd want to put into these files, and that just tells it to put like no text in there.
Mm-hmm.
Only put text when you say it, and then you say, then you just type in, you'd hit enter, go one line down, and then you type in tree, and then you could save it. Now you can, when you save it, you gotta save it as
BAT.
yeah, name.bat. Now I haven't done these in a while, so I probably messed it up, and probably the viewers watching, if I don't realize what I did, they're gonna be like, dude, why'd you give us a screwed up little trick? But like what that does is, what it should do is when you open it, yeah, so it's doing it right. I just ran it on my computer. What it does is it gives you the tree file of everything in your computer. And now if you want, at the very end, when you say add echo off, enter, tree, hit enter one more time, and you press pause, you type that in, save it just the same, and it comes up, does the same exact thing, except it stops at the end, says press any key to continue. And you can go back in and view all your files now.
That's cool.
Now in 8th grade, I had that set up because they had what schools typically do is they block command prompt for very good reasons.
Yes, I've noticed that.
You can mess around in System 32,
Mm-hmm.
and now you can actually make bat files that say at echo off, enter command.com, enter pause, save it as cmd.bat, and it works as command prompt. Comes up with everything, you do the same stuff. That's where I got in trouble because I had different files set up for different things. Like I had one that said one for logging off. When I just felt lazy and was in a hurry, I'd just double click that and I could book it out of class, go to passing, lunch, get picked up, whatever. I had ones that showed the directory of where my stuff was because I saw everything getting deleted and I was like, what's going on here? Well, I get called down to the office and they're like, hey, so we've been seeing some stuff on your account. And I was like, yeah, I've been seeing you guys are deleting my stuff. What's going on? They're like, well, such and such, the district computer guy. I'm not going to give out his name for obvious reasons. And they're like, he's seen you have back files, and they're like, what are you doing with that? I was like, well, I was trying to find my stuff that you guys have been deleting.
Having fun.
Because everything is just disappearing, and I don't like that. They're like, okay, well, don't worry about that. We'll fix that on our end. Just don't be doing this stuff again. And that happened in like November-ish last year, in my ninth grade freshman year. And so I go back, and then around December timeframe, I had forgotten about all this, and now I have a flash drive that has a whole bunch of tools for recovering passwords and whatnot that I have saved on there.
Mm-hmm.
And now any antivirus would pop those up as a worm or a rat or whatever. Now, really, all they were programs that only would start if I ran them, and then those pop up, and they take. And I have my schoolwork on there too. And I go to pull up some of my schoolwork, and then one of my buddies is like, "Hey, what's a keylogger?" Well, I had a basic one. It was a shadow keylogger, which is actually a pretty good one.
For those of you listening who don't know what a keylogger is, it's a program that will secretly run on a computer, and it records every button you press.
Right, now there's different versions. Like, you can have a hardware version, which you plug it into the computer and it saves everything to there.
Mm-hmm.
It could be a software version, which sends it out to an email address.
Which that's stealthier, but
yeah,
it's all up to preference.
Yeah, like when I do it, I typically would prefer to use software as opposed to hardware. But if you're confident, you can use hardware. But anyway, he's like, "Hey, what is it, and how does it work?" And I was like, "Oh, well, here, let me show you." And I ran it on my computer, which doesn't do anything harmful. It just logs my keystrokes, and I know how to turn it off. And I set it up. I was just like, all I type in for it, it logs like, "Hey, this is how it works." And then I type in my password to bring up the log file, which effectively shuts it off. And he's like, "Oh, dude, that's sick. Can you give it to me?" So I transferred it to his flash drive, and he took it away and goes home with it, plays around. They call me down to the office not 20 minutes later. And it's like, "Hey, what are you doing?" So I give them the whole rundown, and they're like, "Yeah, you can't be doing this." And they took away my computer privileges at the school. And they called my parents. Now I get home. I get home, and my mom, she's really pissed off with me this time because I'd been in trouble already for not shoplifting, just stealing in general. I don't have a very good history with that. Now, sorry if you hear any noises. That is my pets in my room. I have 2 dogs right now.
Understandable.
In my room. Yeah, I know. The big bad anonymous guy with his big bad dogs in the room. But no. And then I have this little pack. It holds like 6 flash drives. And in it I have Conboot, which is a password cracker for Windows.
Mm-hmm.
That you can boot it, and you can log into any password protected account without the password.
Even on school district accounts?
Depends on how it's set up.
All right. Now,
like, if they have the icon that says like admin, or an icon that says guest, or an icon that says Anon's account, one that says Harry Potter's account, that would work then, because you could click those icons, enter in the password, and then log in. Now, what this would do, Conboot, it effectively uses rainbow tables to figure out the password, so you don't have to enter it, you log in, do all that stuff. But I had that in there. I had Oafcrack, which is the same thing, just for different earlier versions of Windows. I had Backtrack 5, which was the precursor to Kali Linux, on another one. Then I had one full of tools I used. Another one had
So you had everything.
Yeah. Then another one, it had... No, those are all 4 that I had. And then
I know, but I mean, like, you had a ton of tools to your advantage.
Yeah, then inside I also had a wireless card for Xboxes. Now, what it is just a wireless antenna, but what I can do is I can plug it into my computer and I could use it for packet injection to use AirCrack, which is a Wi-Fi cracker, and I could have cracked web keys, WPA, WPA2,
Dude.
and WPA is like
The standard.
WPA2 is like your best encryption you can get at right now currently. That's probably going to change the next 5 years with technological advances.
Mm-hmm.
And I had that part in there, and then I think to go along with it, I had a little. I have it right in front of me right now. It's a little razor knife, and it has a miniature saw on it that's like maybe an inch and a half, 2 inches. Then it's got a little razor blade on it, same size, and it all folds up into a little case. I had that in there, and then I had a roll of duct tape, like a small roll of duct tape. And now this is when I was like into all this pen tester, black hat activity.
Yeah.
And now I was careful about where I did it, but obviously not very careful. And then my dad gets home and he sees it, and you all who have been in trouble big time know what it's like. Some yelling,
crap.
some why'd you do it, and so on and so forth. Then he takes away my whatchamacallit, my little pack.
Flash drives.
Yeah, he goes through. He went through my emails, and found out that I had.
And black hat hacking.
Yeah, he found out that I had sold a video on YouTube. Sold the rights to that video for $150, and I had to be 18, and I conned my way into doing that.
Wow.
Yeah, and then let's see, what else was there? There was just tons of information there that could be used. Then I guess he ended up talking to one of his lawyer friends and told him everything that went down. And it turns out that I could have had 14 counts of criminal hacking.
Wow.
Placed on me. And now, if you're not familiar with the legal system, as I hope and wish that none of you are.
Let me stop you right here. Are you allowed to be talking about this stuff right now?
Yeah, because charges weren't pressed, so
Okay.
I'd assume so.
I just want to make sure, because like if you find out that you can't, I will edit this part out.
Yeah, no problem. I mean, I've told my friends know this story.
All right.
My trusted friends. I only have a small group of really, really trusted friends. It's about 5 or 6. And yeah, so if you're not familiar with the system, it's you have your misdemeanors, which are like your petty crimes, like petty larceny, which is anything under $20 that you steal. And then you have your criminal offense, which is what I did. It's the middle ground. And then you have your felonies, which my 14 counts of criminal hacking could be one felonious criminal hacking charge, depending on how they lawyered up and got everything situated. But luckily for me, I am starting football. I was starter on the football team, starter on the varsity football team at the junior high. I was a straight A student, and all my test scores came out at near genius level, if not genius level. So they're like, oh no, we don't need to do this. We can talk it out with him. So I didn't get suspended from the school. Everything turns out fine, except my computer privileges are revoked until I can come up with a solution on how to fix it, which I did, and we talked it out, and we came to mutual agreement on letting me go back on. And then, yeah, that came from that, and then ever since that day, my original account on Instagram, which is like anon_Nero on Instagram, I had to get rid of that because certain security reasons.
Yeah.
And that had a couple hundred followers to it. I think 800 to 1,000. I'm not positive.
Yeah, I'd pay close attention to that because you post some pretty interesting stuff on there.
Yeah, and then my new one right now is a Nero_Fox FAWKES, And now a lot of people have had trouble finding me and whatnot on there. I don't know what's up with that. And actually, Anon, I don't think I'm following you right now, but I will be
Just a
soon.
second.
We can bring that up. We can situate that later. But if you guys want to find me, it's Nero_Fox, and on there, like I had to get rid of that for reasons. But ever since I got in trouble for this hacking, everybody has wanted me to like do jobs for them. Like I've been offered money, and now there's some things that I've done for people that was like for the good of somebody. Like I'm not gonna give away
You don't have to give any information.
people's names, but like there was this one girl, and she contacts me. She's like, "Hey, I need your help." And I was like, "Okay, what's up?" And now one of my other friends on Instagram, part of the Anon family, she's like, and now she's like older than me, and she says, "Yeah, she really needs your help." And now this girl's like my age that I'm helping, and I guess like stuff happened to her from some dude when she was younger, and she wanted me to find him and help him go into prison. And so I find out where he lives and everything. I post it up, give the whole rundown on it. And now there were police reports filed, but he was never convicted before this.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes back to court like days after I post up everything. So I'm really wondering what really happened there. And then his girlfriend at the time, she heard about what's going down, and
Get all mad?
yeah, she starts yelling at us over text, obviously. So I guess you could say she tried to cap lock us to death. And
Ooh.
from that, I was like, look, your boy toy did some really messed up stuff. Now, I suggest if you want to not have the harsh hand of an on come at you, I suggest you chill. And she's like, she didn't know how to handle herself because
No chill.
yeah, like she knew I was young, but she didn't expect me to be doing what I did. Now, like I've helped put pedophiles away. I've helped do some good stuff, and I've done some bad stuff, as I'm pretty sure everybody else has. But
Same.
but if you've gotten anything out of this, what I'd pretty much say is just stay safe when you do stuff.
Yeah, that's.
Like right now, I'm friend. I can't really bring that up, but I'll say that I'm close with a major hacker right now. And now, like Anon, you and I can talk about this later.
Mhm.
But I, for his well-being in mind, I'm not gonna mention
Yeah, totally.
names.
Understand.
Then, like yeah, I've worked with some pretty shady people. I've worked with people that are just great, upstanding guys that just want to learn. Like one of my buddies who lives, he's actually California. He,
California crew.
yeah, right. He said he's like, dude, you want to teach me? And now him and I have been friends for a while, and I was like, yeah, I'll teach you. And then I was joking around with him, and I was like, hey, hook me up with some of your some new Anon gear, right? He's like, okay, what do you want? And I was totally joking with him, and he's like, no, seriously, what do you want? So he's hooking me up with some new masks and stuff that should be here within the week in exchange for my tutelage.
You know, funny story is Everybody knows me as the Great Anon. Well, not the Great Anon, but just, I'm generally a well recognized Anon on the Instagram community.
Yeah, fairly famous.
And the funny part is for the time I did call myself Anon before I changed it to Christian, is everybody's like, where'd you get your mask, blah blah blah, and like I don't think they ever realized that I never once did I post a picture of me in a mask, because I don't own one, and my parents think I'm a total nut for like following this kind of stuff, so they're not gonna go out and let me buy a mask that represents this kind of stuff, because if they saw it they'd be like, what is that? And then I'd have to explain it without sounding all like I was trying to hide something, and then they'd be like, you're trying to hide something, if I
Right.
didn't explain it like that, and then they'd be like, no, you're not buying that. But
that's
the truth
that's
is,
how I
you
am.
don't, like, if you really want to represent Anonymous or what we stand for, you don't even really need a mask, you know? But,
Yeah,
yeah.
you just need a brain, really. Like, no, that's me with my mask. Like, I originally bought one 2 summers ago, and I kind of tried to keep it hidden for obvious reasons, for
Yeah.
anonymous reasons, stay anonymous. And I wore that. I wore that downtown when me and my buddy we shot some free running videos. Now that's something I used to be into until I broke my foot the second time. Or no, the first time I broke my foot, I kind of stopped doing that. And we wore that down there, and it was fun. And then that I gave that to a friend because he needed it. And then from there, I got another one, and I just kind of let that one sit out in my room until somebody said something about it. I was like, oh yeah, this is going to be for my costume for Halloween, and I slowly worked that in. Then I wore it around to scare people, whatnot. So people grew more comfortable seeing me with it. While really I was living a second life in the background there with it.
That's exactly how I am, because I'll get in these big, deep, heated arguments with my parents about politics and whatnot, and they think I'm a total nut. Like, I was trying to explain chemtrails to my mom today, and she doesn't believe a word of it. In her mind, they're all contrails, right? And
Right.
so, if I ever have an opportunity to get the mask and represent what it stands for, it's my, quote, Halloween costume, and I have to get it within the next, let's see, 14 days.
Yeah, no. We can arrange stuff later, but I can probably work something out to get you
Oh, there you go.
a mask.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Because
So-
for a while, because I saw the V for Vendetta movie, and if you guys haven't seen V for Vendetta, go watch it. But
Oh yeah, great movie.
it's amazing.
Great book too.
Yeah. I was interested in getting a metal mask because that's what V had in the movie, because he'd be punched in the face and people hold their wrist like ah. But I was interested in getting a metal mask, but those are like $100. I'm never gonna be able to afford one of those.
Yeah, you're breaking up a little bit on my end, but what I got from that, you're talking about his metal mask and like stuff like that. I mean, I know people that have forged masks like that, but I don't have the time or patience to make something that intricate.
Yeah, totally. I wouldn't.
Yeah, like I've made knives and that's about it.
You've made knives before?
Oh yeah, yeah. That's like something I do is like, even though I'm not a prepper per se person, I guess I do have that mindset. Like
When
I
when
make
when it
knives.
does hit the fan.
Yeah, make knives. I can farm. I can hunt with almost anything. Like I have my bow hanging on my wall right now, my recurve.
If the zombie apocalypse ever happens, I'm finding you.
Yep. Oh, I'll come down and get you. But yeah.
I don't know
So
if you've seen him, but on YouTube there's a dude called Non-Lethal by Choice, and what he does is he makes homemade weapons, and basically in preparation for the government or zombie apocalypse. It's really cool. It's some really destructive stuff.
Yeah.
That you might be interested.
Yeah. No, like something. No, we've covered a ton of stuff already. But like, if you guys want to go check out something cool, you can look up that Backyard Boyer, and he makes a whole bunch of different bows, arrows, and he documents everything, like PVC bows.
Yeah,
You get Schedule 40 3/4 inch PVC pipe, heat it up, flatten limbs, put in string knocks, which is where you string up the bow, and you could easily have a 25 to 30 pound draw weight
exactly.
on a bow, and it takes 30 minutes to make. And like, if you're actually gonna go hunting, I suggest you do buy a bow because, like in my state, 45 pounds and over is the legal weight. And then, like my bow, I pull, and now that's for big game. For small game, I think it's like 35. But like I pull 40 pounds at 31 inches right now with the bow I have. and now that's pretty good. And I hunt small game.
That's nice.
Yeah, I hunt small game, which is raccoons, squirrel, rabbit. Like I'll shoot things out of the trees on the move. So that's like a skill that I suggest people learn is
archery.
Is archery, yeah. And yeah, we seriously covered a lot of topics already. We went from 9/11, Ebola,
to archery,
hacking, to this. So I say we finish this topic up a little bit and then call it good.
All right, that sounds good with me.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Let's see.
So let's review what we've talked about just before we head out.
Yeah.
9/11 is a fake, right?
Mm-hmm.
Ebola is a fear tool. In
For the most part, yeah.
I'm gonna elaborate on that a little bit. Hopefully, it doesn't take too long. If the whole idea of Ebola is if you just look at it, okay, the general mass of the population, and that's not including everybody, but just the general mass of the United States population, we've survived the swine flu, bird flu, did we have a smallpox epidemic, or am I thinking of another country?
I don't think it was here. There may have been a few cases.
We've survived these deadly viruses within the past couple of years. And then mainly it's because it hasn't reached us. But if you just look at the big picture, Ebola is just a fear tool. You know?
Right.
Excuse me. What it is just a tool to control the masses.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's just Operation Northwoods. Is the government says, you're in danger, listen to us and we'll keep you safe. Do you really think any vaccine that they're going to come up with is going to keep you safe from the actual virus?
No, of course not.
Of course not. In fact, it's only going to make you more vulnerable to it.
Yeah, now we could go talk about big pharma with big pharmaceuticals.
Big pharma's just a big drug cartel, man.
Yeah, and I mean, we could talk about things for hours, but like we both came to the agreement we need to wrap this up.
Yeah, I agree. I still haven't taken my shower yet. I was working out like 4 hours ago and I was all sweaty and I'm sitting here in my chair like, I need to take a shower.
Ooh, hardcore, man. Yeah, but, so...
9/11 is fake. Ebola is a fear tool.
Hacking, we brought that up.
Yeah,
so,
I hope you learned a little bit about hacking.
Yeah, we talked about...
that, definitely look it up. It's very interesting stuff. Especially if you have knowledge with computers.
Yeah, we talked about Tails, Kali Linux, Debian, Metasploit, Set, SQL Map.
And we told a few personal stories. Hopefully you got to know us a little bit better.
Yeah. I mean, like, I'm pretty open. I'll tell you guys pretty much anything.
Yeah.
If you ask. I'll withhold some things because I still got to stay a little private.
Yeah, definitely. But if you guys are interested, leave comments down below and on Instagram. If you'd like to hear more about our personal lives, sort of thing, because we're telling personal stories, and some of you might be interested in that, some of you might not be. But it could be something for me. It could be content to push. So if you guys are interested in that, let me know.
Right, and then like my Instagram, Nero_Fox. I post up different things about archery, some personal stuff like drawings that I do.
I'm going to follow you right now.
Yeah, actually. Go for it. If you can't find me, we can work this out later.
It's Anon_Nero.
No, that's my old one. I deleted that.
Oh, what was the new one?
My new one is Nero, Nero,
_
Fox, FAWKES.
Alright. And Nero the Archer, following. Alright.
Yep, I'm Nero the Archer. And now there I talk about different personal things and whatnot. But I do post up some stories like talking about certain gun control issues going on in Washington State.
It's going down, dude.
I've talked about the poodle vulnerability that researchers have found. We don't really need to worry about talking about that right now. And yeah, like just looking at my stuff, I got archery, survival stuff. Really, I cater to everybody.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, go out and check that out. Then, let's see, we talked about certain survival things, I guess, somewhat for that two,
For that
three
matter, yeah.
minutes.
It's on the
Yeah,
topic.
so
It's on the topic.
archery, something to learn. Trapping, learn that, and
You learned what fishing was.
yeah, fishing.
By the way, before we get going, one thing I wanted to mention, you guys, and we might mention this in a later talk show. The remedy to Ebola, Garcinia cola. Dirt cheap, but the media's not going to tell you about it. The news ain't going to tell you about it because they want you to buy the vaccine. But
Right.
that's none of my business. So yeah, look that up before the end of the day, whenever you're watching this. Garcinia cola. So yeah,
All right.
I think that's about it.
All right, guys.
Alright, so thank you guys so much for watching. If you learned something, leave a like. Maybe it adds credibility to me. I don't care about likes, honestly. I just want credibility so we can get the message out. Leave a comment. I definitely want to hear what you have to say. I'll be checking comments pretty often. You are Nero_Fox. I am Christian _Killuminati. Give them a follow. Thank you guys so much for watching, and see you guys in the next one.
Peace out, guys.